The State Duma, common abbreviation, THTH 3/4 NTHN Florin ITH 1/4 TH degree in the Russian Federation is the lower house of the Federal Assembly of Russia, the upper house being the Federation Council of Russia. The Duma headquarters are located in central Moscow, a few steps from Manege Square. Its members are referred to as deputies. The State Duma replaced the Supreme Soviet as a result of the new constitution introduced by Boris Yeltsin in the aftermath of the Russian constitutional crisis of 1993, and approved by the Russian public in a referendum. History. The State Duma was introduced in 1906 and was Russia's first elected parliament. The first two attempts by Tsar Nicholas II to make it active were ineffective. Subsequently each of the Duma were dissolved after only a few months. After the 1907 electoral reform, the Third Duma, elected in November 1907, was largely made up of members of the upper classes, as radical influences in the Duma had almost entirely been removed. The establishment of the Duma after the 1905 revolution was to herald significant changes to the Russian autocratic system. Furthermore, the Duma was later to have an important effect on Russian history, as it was one of the contributing factors in the February Revolution, which led to the abolition of autocracy in Russia. In the December 1993 elections, pro-Yeltsin parties won 175 seats in the Duma versus 125 seats for the left bloc. The balance of power lay with the 64 deputies of the ultranationalist Liberal Democratic Party of Russia. Only parties that won more than 5% of the vote were given party list seats. 8 passed the threshold in 1993. In addition to those 8 parties, a pool of 35 deputies was entitled to form a registered group to reflect regional or sectoral interests. Business was governed by a steering committee, the Duma Council, consisting of one person from each party or group. The most important task was dividing up the chair positions in the Duma unregistered trademark S23 committees, which was done as part of a power-sharing package deal. During the second half of the 1990s the Duma became an important forum for lobbying by regional leaders and businessmen looking for tax breaks and legislative favors. The work of the leading committees, such as those for defense, foreign affairs, or budget, attracted a good deal of media attention and lobbying activity. In the early 2000s, following the 1999 parliamentary elections, pro-presidential Unity Party and the Communist Party of the Russian Federation were the leading forces in the State Duma. Powers. The State Duma has special powers enumerated by the Constitution of Russia. They are, consent to the appointment of the Prime Minister of Russia, hearing annual reports from the government of the Russian Federation on the results of its work, including on issues raised by the State Duma, deciding the issue of confidence in the government of the Russian Federation, appointment and dismissal of the chairman of the Central Bank of Russia, appointment and dismissal of the chairman and half of the auditors of the Accounts Chamber, appointment and dismissal of the Commissioner for Human Rights, who shall act according to federal constitutional law, announcement of amnesty, bringing charges against the President of the Russian Federation for his impeachment. The State Duma adopts decrees on issues relating to its authority by the Constitution of the Russian Federation. Procedure. Decrees of the State Duma are adopted by a majority of the total number of deputies of the State Duma, unless another procedure is envisaged by the Constitution. All bills are first approved by the State Duma and are further debated and approved by the Federation Council. Relatively few roll call votes have been published that identify individual deputies' votes. The votes of individuals are recorded only if the voting is open and the electronic method is used. While not all votes are officially roll call votes, every time a deputy electronically votes a computer registers the individual deputy's vote. Organization. Committees. The State Duma formed committees and commissions. Committees are the main organs of the House involved in the legislative process. Formed, as a rule, the principle of proportional representation of parliamentary associations. Chairmen of committees and their first deputies are elected by a majority vote of all deputies of the parliamentary representation of associations. Main structural units of the State Duma are committees, organized according to their spheres of responsibilities. There were 32 committees in 5th Duma, but newly 6th Duma has only 29 committees. Duma committees function for the duration of the current Duma itself. The authority of the State Duma committees include, the authority of the committee include, proposing to build an exemplary program of legislative work of the State Duma for the current session calendar and address the issues of the State Duma for the next month. Implement prior review of bills and preparing them for consideration by the State Duma. Preparation of draft regulations of the State Duma. Preparation of opinions on draft laws and draft resolutions brought before the State Duma. Training in accordance with the decision of the House requests the Constitutional Court of the Russian Federation. In accordance with the decision of the Council of the State Duma Chairman requested preparation of draft regulations of the State Council to send representatives to the State Duma of the Constitutional Court of Russia. Organization of the parliamentary hearings. Opinions and proposals on appropriate sections of the draft federal budget. Analysis of the practice of law. Commissions. The State Duma commissions are formed in the cases and manner prescribed by law. Commission formed for a period not exceeding the term of the Duma of the convocation. In the State Duma 5th convocation, there are 5 committees: Commission Mandated Affairs and Parliamentary Ethics, Accounts Commission, Commission for Consideration of the Federal Budget to ensure the defense and national security of the Russian Federation, Commission for Legislative Support of Anti-Corruption, Commission for Legislative Support of Activity of Natural Monopolies and State Corporations and Commercial Organizations with State Participation. Membership: any Russian citizen who is age 21 or older is eligible to participate in the election may be elected deputy to the State Duma. However, that same person may not be a deputy to the Federation Council. In addition, a State Duma deputy cannot hold office in any other representative body of state power or bodies of local self-government. The office as deputy of the State Duma is a full-time and professional position. Thus, deputies to the State Duma may not be employed in the civil service or engage in any activities for remuneration other than teaching, research or other creative activities. Chairman of the State Duma. United Russia Party of Russia's Rebirth Agrarian Party of Russia. Latest election. Current composition. According to the Russian Constitution, the State Duma consists of 450 deputies, each elected to a term of 5 years. Russian citizens at least 21 years old are eligible to run for the Duma. Seats are awarded on the basis of the percentage of election votes won by a party. The party then appoints candidates to fill its eligible seats. Presidential envoys to the State Duma: Alexander Yakovlev, Alexander Kotinkov, Alexander Kozubkin. References. External links: Russian, official State Duma website.